Good morning. That's to all of you joining us here in the chapel and on YouTube. I'm Jeanne Mooney, your worship leader for today. Good morning. We're especially glad to have those of you who may be with us for the first time and hope to see you again soon. I'd like to remind you now, please, turn off any device that you may be carrying that has a ringtone or notifications, things like that. Sometimes we forget that. Today our speaker is the wonderful storyteller Will Hornyak. Eastrose Fellowship sits on the occupied territory of the Clackamas Chinook people, who were forcibly displaced from this land to the Grand Ronde Reservation in 1855. We acknowledge the sacrifices endured by the ancestors of this land and that our presence here today is only possible because of the injustices committed against them. We recognize the inherent sovereignty of the Chinook Nation and Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, who carry on the traditions, history, and legacy held by their ancestors from time immemorial to this day. We seek meaningful relationships with these communities that foster repair. I'd like to take a moment now to greet our neighbors here today and online. So if you could stand up and look to the clock. There's cameras back there, and wave to people online. Two good ones. For our online guests, if you would like to share a joy or sorrow during that portion of the service, you can do so by entering it into the YouTube chat, and those will be shared aloud with everyone. I also encourage you to identify yourself in the chat so we may better acknowledge your presence with us today. Our call to worship this morning is called A Spacious Welcome by Sherry Woodbury, and it is, we share this. I am reading the gold. It's never different, so we always look. And you guys respond in white. Welcome who come in friendship, who long for genuine community.
May you be graciously received here as your authentic self.
Welcome who come in curiosity, full of questions, or simply open.
May you embrace wonder and encounter new delights.
Welcome who come heavy with fatigue, weary from the troubles of the world, or the troubles of your particular life.
May you rest and be filled in the sacred space.
Welcome who come with joy for flowing rivers and gentle breeze, for changing skies and great trees.
May the grace of the world leave a lasting imprint in you.
Welcome who come with thanks for the altruism of the earth and the gift of human care.
May your grateful heart overflow and bless those around you.
Come, let us celebrate together this wondrous life. chalice lighting. This is called Intention and Creativity by Deanna Van Diver. As we light a chalice, a container of air, earth, and fire, this ritual of our faith reminds our subtle and crashing about beings that we are part of a collective, a community of care and connection, courage and questions, scared and sacred together. Today we gather with intention and creativity, releasing what we will in a space made possible by generations of community care and the courage of connection. Please rise as you are willing and able for our opening hymn. It is number 1029 in the teal hymnal, Love Knocks and Waits, and the words will be on the screen.
I'll play it all the way through because I don't think we know this one really
And now we have our story time. Crows and pigeons?
Hey guys. How you doing? You're an honest man. Me too. How about a fist bump on that? Yeah. Anybody else tired out there? I have no idea. I have no idea why everything's going so well, you know. Hey, this is probably a story you might remember. Do any of you want to come up and help me tell the story? I need a couple. You want to come up? You too? Why don't you come over this way? Can you come over that way? Good. Just over this way. Do you want to help out? You're kind of tired, I know. How about you? No? Okay, all right. So this is a story from Persia, right? An ancient place. Long, long ago, there was a flock of beautiful wild pigeons flying through the sky. Can you be the pigeons? Can you give us some flying action there? Get your wings in? Excellent. And they said, ready? They said, we flew high. Can you say that?
We flew high
And low.
and low
And here.
and here
And there.
and there.
They flew everywhere. But one of the pigeons over here said,
I'm tired. Let's rest.
and there's a tree, and they landed at the top of the tree. But they looked down through the boughs and the branches of the tree, and they saw something, and they said, it's our favorite food.
It's our favorite food.
Golden grain.
Golden grain.
Fly down.
Let's fly down
Pull it up.
and double it up.
Just as they were about to fly down and gobble it up, they heard the sound in the next tree of a few ragged, tattered old crows. Can you be the ragged, tattered old crows? Ready, crows? Yeah. And they said, caw, caw. Can you try that? Caw, caw. Excellent. Now, if you don't speak crow, I'll translate, okay? That meant this. Ready, guys? Can you say this? They said, pigeons, be careful. A hunter put the grain there. Yeah, a hunter put the grain there, and they said, if you fly down and gobble it up, A net will soon fall upon you. Oh, but the pigeons, they raised their heads like this, and they shook them like that. These guys are good. I've taken them on the road. And they said, ready? They said, tattered old crows.
You tattered old crows. What do you know?
There's no hunter.
There's no hunter.
There's no net.
There's no net.
You want the grain for yourselves.
I want the grain for yourselves.
Yeah. So they just flew down. They landed upon the grain. Good. And they gobbled it up and swallowed it down and gobbled it up and swallowed it down and gobbled it up. And they didn't even notice there was a hunter. There was a stealthy hunter out there hiding in the brush. Her name was Carol the hunter. Yeah. And she was hiding in the brush there, and she saw the pigeons, and she said, ready? Those foolish birds.
What foolish birds?
Taking my bait.
They're taking my bait.
Eating pigeon stew.
Which is what pigeons do?
No, I'll be eating pigeon stew.
I'll be eating pigeon stew. Tonight.
And then she took her net. Have you got your net there? Got your net?
Yes.
Hold on. And she cast it out. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Up and up it went, out it spread, and down it came. And it captured those birds. And they were flapping about wildly, trying to get free and flapping about, but they only became more entangled in the net. And then the hunter, she was coming closer and closer. And as she did, the crows, they said, ready? They said, caw, caw. Caw, caw, caw. And of course, that means this: pigeons, be still. They said, you'll never get anywhere. Can you say that? You'll never get anywhere like that. If you want to be free, spread your wings together. And this time, the pigeons listened to the tattered old crows. Ready, pigeons? And they put their wings like this, all together. You want to help them? Put their wings, and then they brought them down quickly. And then they brought them up, 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 and down, and up, 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 and down. And working together, they lifted the net up and 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 up into the sky. And they flew beneath it. And they said, we're free.
We're free. We're free.
The pigeons flew off, and the net came down and landed on the hunter's head. Sorry about that, Carol. And the only sound you could hear was a bunch of tattered old crows as they flew off, and they said, caw, caw. Ha, 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 ha. And that's the story of the tattered pigeons and the tattered crows and the wise pigeons, exactly, and the hunter, Carol. Let's give our actors a hand here. Thank you, guys.
The center aisle could hold hands and form a bridge, and then we can sing the children out to their classroom.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
I invite you now into a quiet time of the service. If you are comfortable, to close your eyes, place your feet on the floor, put your arms in your lap, drop your shoulders, take a very big inhale and exhale. And a second time. And then we'll begin intentional breathing. 4 beats slowly in through your mouth or your nose, and 5 or 6 beats out through your mouth in a steady rhythm, creating peace and spaciousness. And I will read a little meditation, in betweenness. We, you and I, are in between right now. In between what was and what will be. In between who we were and who we will become. In between letting go and embracing. In between saying hello and saying goodbye. In betweenness is a time of transformation, a time of reflection, a time of action, a time of growing, a time of becoming. During this of in-betweenness, of knowing and not knowing, let us enter into the silence together. Amen, and blessed be. Complete another round or two of breathing and slowly come back to the space. Please remain seated and sing number 391 in the gray hymnal, Voice Still and Small. And the words will be on the screen. For our reading today, I have Found While Lost by Eric W. Martinez Resley. The beauty of the world is the mouth of a labyrinth, writes Simone Weil. We would be foolish not to follow its call, and so we enter the labyrinth, lured by the whiff of a dream still in the making, the possibility of a new relationship, the promise of a new career, the potential for a new beginning. We can never be sure what we will find once inside, but this much is certain. There will be times when the beauty of the world, and with it the entrances to the labyrinth, unexpectedly disappear. Some relationships will disintegrate. Some careers will dissatisfy. Some beginnings will disappoint. Unable to find the labyrinth's opening, we often find ourselves in frantic search of an escape, fumbling for the next step, tiring ourselves out in the process. Disheartened, dispirited, we feel disoriented. We get lost. The question is not whether we will get lost in life, but rather how we will move through it in faith. Will we dwell on everything that we have lost? Or will we focus instead on everything that we have yet to find? As it happens, there is much that awaits us in our lostness, much to be excavated, examined, even exalted, in not yet knowing what will be. We are offered the opportunity to appreciate what already is, the things hiding in plain sight. A frayed relationship, for example, may reveal our deeper needs. An unfulfilling career may motivate us to seek out a mentor. A misstart or a misstep may remind us of our own fragile humanity. It may claw open our hearts and sensitize us to the suffering of others. When lost, perhaps the greatest question our faith asks of us is this: how will we be found? Once the time is ripe, the stars align, and the way begins to open, we will be ready to embrace the mystery anew. Will we choose to trust anew, to risk anew, to hope anew? Will we allow ourselves to yet again be drawn in, swept up, taken over by that magic that makes life worth living? In the words of Simone Weil, for if we do not lose courage, if we go on walking, it is absolutely certain that we will finally arrive at the center of the labyrinth. And there, God is waiting.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing? I'm really happy to be here. It's a pleasure to be invited, an honor to be invited. I love the amount of work to create the beauty of this atmosphere here in this great chapel. And a teacher of mine, Malodoma Somé, said, spirit loves beauty. It's one of the reasons we created. Right? You have to woo spirit to come, and you do a great job of that here in wooing spirit to come. So I'm supposedly speaking today about transformation. And truth be told, I'm the last one that should be speaking about the art of transformation. Truly, my wife would reiterate that. I'm a Taurus in the zodiac, right? Which is, I think you're enjoying this a little too much, okay? Which is a fixed earth sign, you know? So I'm quite at home with a routine, with harmony, with balance, with staying the course, with keeping things solid and simple. So when things shake, start to get upset, I get upset. And as a result, I tend to find stories that are about change and transformation, because that's what I need to listen to. I find over the years that women, the feminine in general, is much more at home with change and transition. And so I wanted to start out with a poem just in honor of mothers and all the different forms of motherhood, and how at home the feminine seems to do the change. And this is such a beautiful time of year to consider transformation. You know, you walk out and it's like, when did that happen? You know? When did that tree decide to do that? You know, a month ago I never could have dreamed that that street would look that way, or suddenly there'd be tulips up just radiating. You know, and so this is a time of great change and transformation, which is a wonderful thing for us to consider too. So this is called For Mothers and the Great Mother, and it's dedicated to my mother, Catherine Kennedy Hornyak, my sister, Mary Kay, Nancy, and my wife, Conchetta. Blessed be the mothers of children, mothers of hearth fires and homes, mothers of ideas and imagination, mothers of magic, mystery, and wisdom. Blessed be mothers of holy flames, mothers of holy causes, mothers of revolutions, midwives of creative brilliance, wombs of infinite compassion, wombs of wild courage. Blessed be those who give the milk of themselves freely to this world, who sow seeds of vision and kindness, who birth beauty, who lead, who nourish, who heal and mend the torn fabric of this world. Blessed be the fierce souls who make medicine of past pain and birth themselves again and again from unspeakable sorrows. Blessed be Mother Earth, from whose clay we are formed, from whose womb we are born, to whose tomb we will return. Blessed be the immortals, Inanna, Athena, Iemanjah, Maeve, Mary, Bridget, the Magdalene, Scheherazade, Freya, Pachamama, Pele, Kali, Kuan Yin, and countless others who dwell in the spirit of the Great Mother, who births, sustains, protects, and nourishes the myriad forms of this world. So, to mothers and the Great Mother, and the many forms of mothering that we celebrate. Well, there's a story I'd like to tell you. I know that's a big surprise, right? And Joseph Campbell once said that in part the value of myth, or the importance of myth, is simply to open us up to the awe and the wonder of this world. And transformation has to do with a total change of form. Right? It's a shape-shifting in a sense. And one of the greatest examples of that in nature course is the metamorphosis of the caterpillar to the butterfly. Now, I don't know about you, but my caterpillar self does not think of me becoming the butterfly. It's a pretty radical idea, you know. And I think, you know, that's typical of human beings. I'm going to be the best caterpillar I am. Right? But the idea of a butterfly, it's just so wild. And yet, that is the destiny of the caterpillar, to be something utterly, totally different and new. And I love that metaphor, in part because it involves difficult change. And that's one of the hardest things about transformation. Something has to change. I have to change. And there's a fear that I have that I'll be annihilated. I won't exist any longer. And it's true, something in me will be annihilated. A smaller self, a little self, we sometimes call it the ego. That will shift, that will change. But does the butterfly look back and go, boy, I really wish I was that caterpillar again. Man, that was a good life crawling around like that, you know? Not to say there's something wrong with a caterpillar, it's a beautiful existence. But change is inevitable. That's where our souls are always called to change, and yet there's an essence of ourselves that remains the same. So a story about that. So a long time ago, this is a story from the 6th century in Ireland. There was an abbot, a very famous abbot, Finian, the abbot of Moville. Moville was a monastery in County Down in Northern Ireland. And word came to him. One of his monks said, Finian, it seems that there's a man in our own province here who still practices the ancient ways. You know, he's said to be a magician of sorts, a druid of some kind. He doesn't attend church. He doesn't respect saints' days or sons' days. Neither does he tithe, right? And so something must be done. And Finian, he said, a man like that still practicing the ancient ways, that's an insult to myself and the one true God. I'll have to go and magician him. So Finian, the abbot, he goes and he walks out into the wilderness, which is where this Tuan McCarroll is his name, where he lives. He lives in the woods, this great home of timber and earth and stone. And Tuan hears as Finian comes and he says, Tuan McCarroll, I've come to speak to you about the one true God, man. Open to me now. I've come for the good of your soul, man. Open to me. Now, I don't know about you, but if I know someone's coming to my house with the conscious intent of doing good for my soul, I would run for my bloody life. But Finian wouldn't go away. And finally, Tuan, he opened the shutter of a window there up on the turret, and he looked down and says, man, hold your breath, man. Hold your breath. I've heard of your one true God, and I welcome him to Ireland. There's many gods here, and there's room for many more. And I will respect your God if you will respect the two gods that I worship, silence and solitude. Right? Now, good day to you now. Finian, he continued to cry out. Tuan would not open the door. So Finian decided to put a siege on Tuan McCarroll's home in a peaceful but a powerful method. He fasted on his doorstep. He simply refused to take food. Now, in Ireland, there's no greater sin than having somebody die on your doorstep for want of food. And they would look out the window, the servants would look out the window and say, oh my gosh, Tuan, look at that new druid, that priest, he yet remains. And Tuan would say, don't worry, hunger has a whip, it'll drive him away in time. But nobody knew the spirit of Finian. He had already decided. He would leave Tuan's doorstep only in one of two ways. The first, if he had been admitted through the gates of heaven, where he decided he would die if need be, or if he'd been admitted to Tuan's home. And finally, Tuan looked out one day after a storm had passed, and there was Finian covered with snow, shivering, an icicle coming off his nose. And Tuan said, geez, let him in. So they brought the priest in, they warmed him up, and they gave him food, and then Tuan led him up to his great room, big room with two nice chairs and a fire burning there, a peat fire burning there. And Finian, the abbot of Moville, laid a siege upon the soul of Tuan McCarroll now, 10 times as strong as what he'd laid on his house. He told him about the one true God. He told him, Tuan, about the beloved Son that the one true God had sent to earth to redeem mankind from his sins. And he said, Tuan McCarroll, he was a compassionate man, a wise man. He told people to love their enemies as well as their friends. His words, they were sweet, but they burned through the lies of the Sadducees and the Pharisees. He healed the sick, he raised the dead, and even though he died, he ascended, body and soul, alive again into heaven, and he sits at the right hand of the Father. And Finian spoke for hours. But Tuan McCarroll loved a good story. He listened. And after it was done, he said, I have much to learn from that tale. Thank you for telling it to me. And Finian said, well, now I must hear of your life, Tuan McCarroll. You must tell me how you came to occupy these lands. And Tuan said, mine has been a long, long life. Sometimes it's better to forget than it is to remember. Oh, no, Tuan McCarroll, you must tell me. How did you come to occupy these lands? Who was your father? He said, well, I am indeed Tuan, the son of Carroll, the son of Muradak the Red. These are the ancestral lands of my father. But long ago, I was also known as Tuan, the son of Starn, son of Partholon. Finian said, you've told me of two fathers.
Aye, both are mine. But the second one, son of Partholon, Partholon was a cousin to Noah. He came to Ireland not long after the flood. I know. I came with him. You came to Ireland with Partholon? I did. Finian could feel the hairs on his neck stand on edge. A chill ran down his spine. And he said, tell on, man. How Juan McCarroll came to Ireland and how he became the sole inhabitant of that island. He came on a boat, 24 men, 24 women. And they lived in Ireland for a time until a great illness came. And Juan said, Finian, it came as fast as wind over water, like a scythe that cut through a field of barley. It felled even the strongest among us. My children, my wife, it took everyone save for myself. And I was the lone gravedigger in that graveyard, and long I spent at that terrible task. And then he told Finian of how he lived as an animal for 22 years, all alone, attacked by bears and wolves, wildcats, learning how to make his way in the wilderness. And he said, and finally, I was tired of that life. I went into a cave, and I gave myself into doom, and I slept. And at some point, I began to dream. I had a new heart beating in me. I had a strength in my limbs I'd never known before. I dreamed that I was regal, I was noble, I wore a crown, I was surrounded by those who loved me. And when I awoke, I was what I had dreamed. I knew not what that was, but I walked out of the cave, I put a foot to a flat stone, and I looked down, and it wasn't a foot, it was a hoof. And I raised a head, it wore a crown, it was a crown of antlers, for I had come back to life as a stag of the woods. And he said, it was a grand life. There was a grace and a strength in the stag that no other creature has. And at times I would fly up to the highest heights in all of Ireland and look out, and the world was new, and I was new, and it was a good life. But in time, Finian, the wolves came for me. I grew old. I went back into the dreaming cave. And once again, I gave myself into doom. And at a certain point, I dreamed that I was ferocious. I was strong. I was courageous beyond measure. I was a protector of some kind. And when I came to the mouth of the cave, the wolves that waited for a skinny stag to emerge, well, they ran. For as I poked out my head, it was a bristled snout with great curving tusks, for I had come back to life as a boar of the woods. Oh, and I loved that life, Finian. I was protector. Many a wound I took, many a scar I wore, but I protected all of mankind and was beloved, and that life was good. It was lusty, filled with fighting, with struggle, with protection, but it was a good life. But in time, old age came to me. My eyesight waned, my snout was good. I smelled my way back to my dreaming cave, and once again I gave into doom. I closed my eyes, and at a certain point, I only knew that I could see like I'd never seen before. I could see great distances. Finian, I saw all movement before my eyes, and I was swift as thought. When I opened my eyes, I left the cave, but not upon feet or upon hooves, but I left upon wings. For now I was a hawk of the air. Oh, and the freedom of that life, can you imagine? Stitching through the skies, breaking through storm clouds into some sunlit vault of the heavens, and then folding wings and whoosh, dropping down. And I flew over Ireland many times. The length and breadth of her, I knew her in every wind and weather in all seasons, in moonlight and sunlight and in starlight. But more men had come to Ireland now, and with the men came weapons, and with weapons came wars. And I hovered above the battlefields and saw the fields of Ireland turn red with blood. All swords upon shields, all spears hurled I saw. All death cries, all cries of battle and war I saw. War upon battle upon battle upon war I saw. It is a great thing to see, but one can see too much. I was weary. My wings yet served me, and I flew back to my dreaming cave after many, many years had passed. And I was glad to be there. I wrapped wings around myself, and as I slept, I began to weep the grief of all those battles I had seen. And I dreamed that my tears were connected to the griefs of all battles, all wars, all grief. Until I dreamed that my cave was filling with those tears, that I was floating upon those tears of grief. And now that the waters, they surrounded me, and yet I was not afraid. And when I opened my eyes, I was of the water. For I had returned to life now, Finian, as a salmon of the sea. And I'll tell you, I loved all of my lives. The strength, the grace of the stag, and the ferocity of a boar, the freedom of a hawk. But joy as a salmon was simpler. Well, look at him. He's just one thing from nose to tail, you know. A man has arms and legs, a stag as well, a hawk wings, but a fish, it's just one thing. And a man can tumble into a furrow, a hawk can dash its brains against a cliff, but a fish, he's held by the warm and sweet waters, caressed by that, which allows him and holds him, allows him to move. And I swam out on the tides of this world, the great heaving whales of the deep we saw, the tentacled creatures that reached out for us, but we were too swift. And one day I felt an urging in myself like I'd never known before, an urging to return to Ireland. It was almost like a tether had let itself out and now pulled me back. But that journey home was much more difficult than the journey away. It was like the water had turned to stone. And to swim back was like urging through rock. And on that very day that I knew I would not return, because I was so weary, I knew the flesh would fall from my bones. On that day, I tasted it. It was faint. It was faint, but it was. It was the taste, the smell, the scent of the rivers of Ireland. For you know how the rivers, they unfurl themselves far out into the oceans. And I knew with that taste and that smell, I could find my way home. And though it was still far, far away, onward and onward we swam. And I tell you, Finian, only the great heart of a salmon can endure that kind of terrible toil and labor. But at last I returned to Ireland. I dozed in the nook of a crannied rock until strength returned. And then I decided to know every river of Ireland. And as a great fish, I swam there, that way, exactly. Indeed, with great joy. Into the Suir and the Nore and the Boyne and the Liffey and the Blackwater and the Foyle, all of them I knew. But of course, I was hunted now. Men came for me with spears, cast nets, hooks. The great beaked birds, they would drop down for me. And the sleek otters, they would rise up to grasp me. My life became a constant wound and hurry and escape. But one day, Finian, not far from here, in the River Foyle, I was dozing beneath the ledge of the land there, dozing, asleep. And so, because of that, I did not see the fishermen. I did not see the King of Carroll coming down. Nor did I see him as he cast out his nets. I did not see them until I was caught in the net. And oh, how I pulled with all my strength against it. I never, ever wanted to leave the beauty of those waters. But his strength was great, and he pulled me from the stream onto the grassy shore. And as he bent down, I could see this fisherman with a smile upon his face. He put his hand upon me, and he said, give way to doom, O King of the fish. It is not as bad as you think. Let go the river, let go the stream, O King of the salmon. And gently he lifted me up, and he put me on his back. And as we left the river valley, for the last time I could see the light playing upon the water. For the last time I could hear the sound of the singing of the stream. And then it was gone. But as he walked, he sang a song of praise to me, to the King of the fish. He sang a song of praise to the river. And he brought me home. And he laid me out on the table. And his wife, the Queen of Carroll, came. And she said, that is a beautiful fish. And she said, that fish is mine. And so it was. I was roasted. And so it was I was eaten. And so it was she devoured every bite and morsel of me. And Finian, in time, it was strange, but in time I was swimming again in a sea. It was a much smaller sea, but it was a sea indeed, and it was in fact the watery sea of the womb of the Queen of Carol. And in time, a flood broke forth from that womb. And I ushered out on that flood as an infant. And I grew into a boy, and I became the man who now stands before you, Tuan McCarroll. Finian said, "My God, but Tuan McCarroll, how is such a thing possible? How could such a thing like that be true?" Tuan said, "Well, Finian, you've told me the story of a man who was born of a virgin, who was impregnated by an angel speaking a word into her ear. And didn't he change water into wine and heal the sick and raise the dead? And even though he was dead, didn't he roll a stone away from the tomb and ascend body and soul into heaven, where he sits at the right hand of the Father to this day and will come again to judge us all? And you're questioning the veracity of my tale?" Ah, Finian, please. Stories are the garments the truth wears. "Ah," said Finian, "there is the one true tale, however." "Well, I'm not sure about that," said Tuan. In time, Finian, he asked Tuan if he could baptize him, so when his time did come, he could return to the one true Father and to his true home in heaven. And Tuan said, "Finian, I've been baptized many times, in water, in air, in earth, and in fire. And this is my home." And Finian said, "You will know in time doom if you don't allow me to baptize you." And Tuan said, "Finian, I'm the twin brother of doom. Let it come." Finian, the abbot of Moville, he crossed himself. He lowered his head in prayer. Tuan McCarroll looked out the window as a moon rose behind a spreading oak tree. The next morning, Finian, he departed. The two men embraced one another. They parted amicably because they respected one another. Finian, he went on back to the abbot, the monastery at Moville, and in time he did become Saint Finian of Moville. To this day, one of the greatest, most revered saints in all of Ireland. And to this day, that monastery, it remains in that place in County Down. And as for Tuan McCarroll, well, nobody really knows what happened to Tuan McCarroll. Also, to this day, in Ireland, sometimes when people see a hawk flying through the sky, they'll say, "Ah, look at that. Tuan, he yet cuts a clean line through the sky, doesn't he?" Or upon hearing the belling of a stag, they'll say, "Tuan, yet he sings sweetly to us." Some even upon eating a salmon, they will say, "Ah, the taste of Tuan is good in our mouths tonight." Who knows who he is, or what or where he is? He could be walking the earth to this day. He could be a king, a noble of some kind. He could be a lowly, itinerant teller of tales, for that matter. But if he was that, if he was a storyteller, don't you think that all his stories, just like mine, would finally come to an end? Which is exactly where the story has finally come. But I would leave you with a blessing that Tuan would have given you, followed by a blessing that Finian, the abbot of Moville, might have given you. For Tuan, in the old way, would say, "Deep, deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the warming and transforming fire to you, deep, deep peace." And Finian might have said, "To all of you on the great road of life, may it always rise to meet you. May the sun be on your face. May the wind be at your back. And when your time does come, may each and all and every one of you be in heaven at least an hour before the bloody devil knows you're dead." And that's the tale of Tuan McCarroll. Thank you. So a couple of thoughts about Tuan. One thing I like about that is that he never knows exactly what he's going to become, what shape he's going to shift into, you know. And yet, what's required is a sense of solitude, a sense of darkness, a sense of time, and dreaming. Imagination, I think, is essential to transformation. You know. Also, he loves each incarnation. It's not that one is better than the other, but each one is useful. Each one is particular. Each one is very specific. Each one has gifts that the other doesn't have. There's nothing quite like the insight of the hawk, the vision of a hawk. There's nothing quite like the lustiness, the courage of the boar, the grace, the nobility of the stag, right? Or the wholeness of the salmon, right? And yet all of those things are contained within ourselves, you know? And that's always the question, is what is the next form? What is the next shape? What's it calling upon? And I think at times like these, when there is so much change, transformation, upheaval in culture and in nature, that it requires transformation within ourselves as well. Because I think that only society transforms and the world transforms as people on an individual level are willing to transform. Right? And of course, we know that the practices as a collective that we've been engaged in for thousands of years need to come to an end, need to shift, need to transform. We cannot continue to have the same relationship with nature that we've had for a long time. Nature is calling upon us to transform. You know? So how do we do that? What are the tools for that? And I think because stories are always about change, stories, poems, songs, art, they provide metaphors for the metamorphosis, right? A metaphor means to carry something over. It helps us to shift. That's why stories are always about once upon a time. They're helping us to move from one place to another, to consider things differently in imagination, so we can return to this world and perhaps put those into practice. So I want to thank you for listening. I'd like to end with a poem. That's okay? We got, good? 1 minute? Okay, I know I always push the time limit here. But, so one of my allies is nature. Every year for the last 12 years or so, I've gone to the Michael Mead's men's conference in Mendocino, California. And so I camp in the redwood trees on the way down and on the way back. And it's always like being in the cathedral to be there. And this is a poem called What the Redwoods Told Me. Grow tall, but first sink your roots down deep into dark, succulent soils and cast them out wide. Twine together with those around you. Then you won't fear the brunt of fierce storms. Great winds will make music in your boughs and branches and inspire a song from your voice never before heard. Next, clothe yourself in garments freely given, common robes of rain, cloaks of mist and dew, so that tears will befriend you, silence and stillness will be your medicine, and your presence will speak a language understood by all. Then become truly noble. Shelter all manner of small, strange, delicate, chirping, buzzing, crawling, clawed, and winged life. And finally, yield your grandeur. Once great against the vast, bright, and star-sown sky, to become sweet soil, mulch for sapling and sprout, companion to earthworm and toadstool, draped in fern and moss, over whom you once towered. Neither run from nor rue that day, but lay yourself down willingly into the arms of that beloved who has been waiting for you from the first moment of your first breath. It's called What the Redwoods Told Me. Thank you. And if do we have time for some conversation?
No, conversation after.
Oh, it's after. Okay, good.
Yeah, at coffee time. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
So, that's good. Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Please rise as you are willing and able in body or spirit and sing number 359 of the Gray Hymnal, When We Are Gathered. The words will be on the screen, and Mary's going to play it through first. Now it's time for our offering. We share half of the cash offering with a local organization doing good works in the community. Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition is our Sharing the Bounty partner from March through August. They work to empower immigrants, unite families, and build a just community. PIRC maintains a hotline to report ICE activity, provides referrals to legal aid and social services, trains rapid response migrant watchers, and maintains a daily presence at the Portland Immigration Court and ICE building. If you are attending online, you may donate by visiting our website and clicking on the donate button, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. If you are here for the first time, we invite you to let the basket pass and truly be our guest. The gifts of the congregation will now be most gratefully received. Seated and sing our song of gratitude, number 1010 in the Teal hymnal. We give thanks. The words will be on the screen.
For this precious day, for gathered
And now we will extinguish the chalice with a reading by Emily Richards, May You Be Changed. May you leave this time together changed. May the promise you have made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction. Until we are all changed, transformed and transforming together, becoming our better selves. Thank you. I would like to thank everybody who had a hand in today's service, and I have a couple of announcements. The neighborhood plant swap is Saturday, April 25th. It's coming up Saturday, here from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Bring plants, seeds, books, decor, and tools, and stop for great things you'll find. Please label plants with ideal growing conditions. No invasives, please. And if you have questions, email outreach@eastrose.org. There are free apple chips in the narthex. And Reverend Connie is here and would like to make an announcement.
Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm Reverend Connie Yost, and I'm coming here now since I moved out east. And I want to invite you. I'm president of Farm Worker Ministry Northwest, and we educate and advocate for farm workers and immigrants. And I'd like to invite you for a couple actions that are coming up. It's been in the pedals. One is farm workers at Windmill Mushroom Farm in Sunnyside, Washington are calling for a boycott of the windmill mushrooms. Now you can find these mushrooms, unfortunately, at every store, even though we've been asking them not to carry them. They're still there. So if you, one, don't buy these mushrooms, there's plenty of others that you can buy. But two, I have a petition that they would like to gather another 5,000 signatures so we can deliver that in person to the private equity company in Toronto who owns the farm now. So I have flyers out there. There's a QR code. You can scan it or see me, and I'll take your name on a petition that I brought with me. And then secondly, May Day, May 1 is considered May Day, International Workers' Day. And Paccoon in Oregon is our farm worker labor union, so they're a partner of ours. So encouraging people, if you can, go down to Salem for the May Day rally there at the Capitol. If that's too far to go, there are gatherings in Portland as well. So thank you.
Now, our unison benediction. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. The service has ended. Please remain seated and enjoy the postlude music, and then we'll have social hour, coffee, and conversation in the Thatcher Room, and can talk to Will about his story of transformation.